It is my pleasure to introduce our speaker and our friend, Mayor Jill Bourdreau. Mayor Bourdreau began her third term on January 1st, 2020. She's committed to and has demonstrated that municipal government can be efficient, adaptable, dignified, and inclusive. She brings creative energy to City Hall and has significantly raised the level of community engagement in the city of Mount Vernon. Those were the official words, but my editorializing is that she just gets it done, and I suspect she relies on her fantastic staff, which I bet she will mention. But it's more than just management, it's vision that really counts, and I think we're going to hear about that too. Would you help me welcome Mayor Bourdreau?
Hello, everybody. It's so nice to see all of you. I'm not usually like in a fixed position, so I'm going to try and stay here, at least for some of the discussion part of this, but I want you to all be thinking of questions you may have. As you know, I'd rather give some information, but then have a conversation about what you are actually interested in learning about the city. So, but today I just wanted to start out off by thanking the Chamber of Commerce. I think over the last few years especially, the idea of collaboration and cooperation among entities to serve our community has been magnified, and the Chamber has been a stellar partner. And we appreciate you, Andy, your board of directors, who have worked together. It's not always the case in every community around the country, so congratulations to our city and our community for digging in and doing the best that we can to support our community during very disruptive times. Before I get going, I do have a handout, and let's see, Peter's going to help by maybe the e-newsletter. We do an e-newsletter with the city once a month. If you haven't signed up for that, we'll send around a good old-fashioned clipboard, and you can write down your email if you'd like it. But what we try and do is just give insights of what's happening with the city each month, and for the last several months, we've added the Mount Vernon Library Commons newsletter as well. So we want you to know that you can be engaged. Our city website has lots of information, and we're not too large of a community where if you call or if you email the mayor's office or any of our departments, you can talk to people. You can actually talk to us. So I don't want you to forget about that. So thanks, Peter, for helping that get around. Also wanted to thank Councilmember Mary Hudson for being here. It's really important that you all know that the City Council and the executive branch of government in the city, we work together. We have differences of opinions, but there is no finger pointing, extreme partisanship. We are focused together on working for the best for our city. If you come to our council meetings, you will frequently see us laughing together, having intense conversations, but all in all, really focused on the city. So I'm proud of that, and Mary is part of that. So thanks, Mary, for being here today. So as we get going, if we could have the next slide, some of what I wanted to talk about today is disruption now the norm? You may be feeling this in all of your businesses or organizations, that it's not just the pandemic, but it's social unrest, it is supply chain issues, it is inflation. There are so many things over the last few years that we have worked through, but will continue to be working through. So I don't believe we're going back to normal. I think we have a whole new reality of working for the next several years on recovery, I would say. So part of the focus in the city is just basic city services. And those basic city services are things like parks and enrichment, which we're here at Hillcrest Park. We have our library, we have park service, police and fire. And the reason why we have continued to excel and provide those services to you through the pandemic and the disruption is because of our workforce and our city team. And I could not be more proud of that city team who has been dedicated for that. So I'm going to name a few names that are here. I'm going to run through them quickly. Kevin, our city attorney, Chris, public works director, Brian, our assistant fire chief, Jennifer, our parks and enrichment services director, Isaac, our library director, Mary, our IS director, and Doug with our finance. And I'd love them to stand if you don't mind recognizing them as a major part of our city team. Thank you. And also Peter Donovan, who not only serves the city team, but he also serves you on the board of directors for the chamber. So thank you, Peter, for that too. And just a little bit about me, if you haven't met me before. This is my 11th year in office. I never expected to be an elected official. I just like working administration. I like solving problems, and it turned out it happened to be in an elected official capacity. But I'm a human being like all of you, and so as we've worked through the last few years, I will 100% admit to being overwhelmed, to develop social anxiety that I have to work through, but also after having to make so many decisions that are detrimental to human beings as far as city employees or things that we had to do, it takes a toll. But I'm not the only one, and I suspect each and every one of you have experienced that over the last few years. So what I'm asking you to do is think about mental health services, think about things that you can do to support yourself, your family, and your organizations, and then give grace above all else. I think everyone is trying to do the best they can. And so with that being said, let's move on to some really great stuff that's going on. Some things I'm going to talk about today are the Mount Vernon Library Commons project and comprehensive planning as it relates to the housing discussion, and then we'll get to questions after that. But first things first, how do we pay for city services? How do we actually accomplish those goals? Our city budget is just about $76.7 million in total, but the operating budget is about $39 million. That's really what people, I think about when they think about the city budget. That's where our services are provided. We are a very lean budgeting city, and so I like to throw up there that we only have 8% of our operating funds as discretionary. And what discretionary means is we can buy paper and pens, that's part of discretionary funding, but we don't have a lot of wiggle room when it comes to fulfilling our obligations. So we run very lean. Budgeting is also not necessarily just a math problem. Our budget has to increase if we want to increase services to our community. And when we try and increase budget, that generally means increases in taxes. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how the taxes interplay with our ability to provide services to you every day. A breakdown of the city budget as far as where it's spent, again, this is the operating funds that we're showing up on the screen at the moment, is the overwhelmingly majority, 61%, is spent in public safety and criminal justice. And that is very indicative of cities across the country. It's police and fire departments, but we also add in the cost of courts and public defense and things like that. So that's where the lion's share of funding goes. And then you can see the various other departments in there, whether it's our development services department or our city attorney or administration, that are pretty small pieces of the pie. Our operating budget is generally funded largely in part by property tax and sales tax. So the next slide shows you sales tax distribution. If you haven't looked at a sales or a property tax statement, if you own property, take a look at it. It's 7 different taxing jurisdictions, and the percentages go to different entities. So in our city, there is 39% of a property tax that you pay goes to Mount Vernon schools, and those that's largely a voted bond. Those are choices by our community to fund these particular entities. The state of Washington takes a chunk, and then the city receives about 16% of every dollar of property tax. Sometimes people are really surprised about that. And then you can see the other places that property tax is distributed. The next slide shows, and I thought this might be interesting, and I realize these are small, so I can always email the slides to Andy if we need to distribute them. But I gave a talk with EDASC, our Economic Development Alliance of Skagit County, along with the other 3 city mayors. And part of this was the comparing what the property tax levy rate is in the 4 cities of Skagit County. So as you can see on the left side, Mount Vernon is $11.72 per $1,000 of value of your property. You can see Anacortes, Cedar-Woolley, and Burlington. And you might wonder, well, why are things different? And why does it necessarily matter or tie into other decision making, which I'll link it at the end. But with the next slide, I have a handout of this if you want the actual details. And here's why, and I thought I'd just want to illustrate this. So the city rates are set by the city councils. In the very top line, Mount Vernon is not the most expensive, actually. Our rate is 1.77. Cedar-Woolley's is just a bit over $2. So Mount Vernon is the second highest in the county. Then you see the other jurisdictions that establish their rates. So Skagit County is the same for all the jurisdictions. The Conservation Futures Fund is the same for all jurisdictions, and is the Medic One Services. The hospital district, you'll notice a difference on that. There are voted bonds in Mount Vernon and Anacortes that have a higher rate that goes to their hospital district versus Cedar-Woolley and Burlington. The ports are different. Port of Skagit covers Mount Vernon, Burlington, and Cedar-Woolley, so their rate is higher than the Port of Anacortes charges. School district, the same thing. Those are different voted bonds, there's different rates. But bottom line is, on the yellow bar, on the second yellow bar, is what I wanted to point out. If your home is taxable valued at $400,000, and I talked with the assessor the other day, and despite the sales prices for homes in the city of Mount Vernon being an average of pushing $600,000, the taxable value is only about $350,000 average. It's interesting on that. So a home would spend about $60 a month to have the services that are provided by your city 24/7. That's about a cell phone bill, right? So when we think about the idea of taxes and paying for what we receive from those taxes, I think knowing the dollar amounts are important. Because lots of folks think that, okay, $59 a person. No, that's a household that pays for the services that are provided by the city. So some of you might find that surprising. Some people might say, well, I'll pay 20 extra more dollars for a new library, or $2 more, I don't know. But I think when we have those debates about taxes, it's important to have the actual information in front of you. All right, sales tax rate went up just slightly in the January of 2022, and that is the City Council took advantage of a sales tax collection for affordable housing. And so some of those funds are going to be going toward our new integrated outreach services program in our police department. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. But we think it's very, very important money that's spent. But also it's the first time that the state has given cities some direct funding to put toward problems that we know are really important. The federal government did this for the very first time with CARES funding and ARPA funding that came out during the pandemic. And we encourage the federal government to think of funding directly to cities more and more. There is no more connected group of policymakers than the mayor and the city council to the needs of what our cities are. And when the federal government deposits money into our bank account, literally 6 weeks later, checks were in the hands of small businesses because we know how to get it done. And so I feel like we need more of that. But all right. Good news. Infrastructure improvements, and this is a slide that I had last year during our State of the City, which is a little different than this. But I wanted to give you an update on it. So I was so proud of our city team. During the pandemic, we did not let off the gas on any of our transportation infrastructure projects. Our staff worked either from home, they came in, they made sure that we kept our place in line because we knew that other cities may not be able to do as well as we would, but in the end, we would be pushed in the line for more funding. And that's happened. And so what's exciting for us now is we are fully funded for an intersection improvement at Hogue, LaVenture, Francis, that corner there by the YMCA. So fully funded for design, engineering, and construction. So we're in design right now. That'll be a signalized intersection. That was on our plans, but we had no funding set aside, but we were able to completely fund that. We were also able to completely fund Riverside Drive improvements. Now these will be under design over the next year, but what we want to do on Riverside Drive is underground utilities, make the sidewalks wider, channel the traffic there and make it more of a boulevard. And that's a huge traffic improvement that is needed to add density in our commercial area, but density around the idea of mixed use, including housing. So to have the federal government and state government grants pay for that means no impact for you as a property taxpayer. So we're excited about that. And then finally, we just found out last week that the state was given money from the feds. They have to spend it by September. They can't spend it, so they're going to be giving it to cities who have done good projects in the last 2 years. So we'll be getting over $2 million back, potentially, to the city for the College Way expansion project and Riverside Drive, Freeway Drive. So the point in all that, probably too much detail, is that we are doing the best we can to take advantage of opportunities out there and bringing those dollars back to our city to lessen the tax burden and get things done. Skagit Square, I think next slide has a picture on that, Station Square. So I talked about this last year, and now you're seeing it. Station Square is the development right off the freeway across from Skagit Station. 7-Eleven, the Wendy's, and the new hospitals, clinics there are going in. There'll be one more amenity and a coffee business there. But that is over a $20 million investment in the city, is drawing attention to the city as people drive by. Ooh, what's going on there? Who's investing in that city? So it's a big deal for us, and we're grateful for that project. And now comes the one if you haven't talked to me in the last few years, I'm going to bring this up every single time we talk. The Mount Vernon Library Commons project. I think I started talking about this maybe 4 years ago. I'm not sure. So this project is a multi-use project. This is where it's located. It's right off of I-5, right across from the Skagit County Courthouse, which right now it's a parking lot. So this is where our project is going to go. It is a mixed-use project that satisfies a lot of different goals. It is a new library, it has community center space, it has commercial kitchen space, then it has 3 floors of structured parking above that. The structured parking will have 75 electric vehicle charging stations, including hopefully 8 DC fast chargers. It has a 150,000 kilowatt solar array. It is built with passive house construction, which is the ultimate in green construction. It ticks a whole bunch of boxes for everybody, and it's a $53 million project, the largest infrastructure project for economic development in county history. We're excited. So I'm going to show you some visuals of what this project is. HKP is, did I see Julie here? Julie's here. So HKP is our architect firm. Going through the process, we were thrilled to be able to have our local folks design this. And as we tee up a couple of minutes of an exterior kind of fly around the building, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the project itself. So HKP is fully designed this. Tonight, council will accept 100% design, and we will hope to bid this in July, which means we break ground in September. The structure itself, what you're seeing now is sort of the north side, and the fins, there's like small little fins that are kind of help camouflage a concrete parking structure. There's glass that is, you're showing here on this corner, and all of that is designed so that the building will have a reduction of, I think, more than 30 or 60% in energy use. Now I'm going to get my numbers mixed up. The library space will double our current library square footage, and then it will include, again, the community center that can be used for Chamber of Commerce luncheons. We're excited. Commercial kitchen, here's the south side. This is our solar array. The solar array will be able to power a percentage of the project itself. We have the EV charging stations that will be the 3rd largest in the nation when we are done, the largest in Washington State. And I've heard some people are like, well, my goodness, why do you need so many? Well, if you think about, we have 151 gas pumps in the city of Mount Vernon, and within 2030, manufacturers will stop making combustible engine vehicles. How many charging stations do you think we'll need? Not everyone is going to have the ability. We're going to have an outdoor space on the second floor there. Not everyone is going to be able to have a charging station at their home. What about folks that live in apartments, folks that work downtown, for tourism that wants to come, get off the freeway, stop for a little bit, spend some money? There's a lot of reasons around being visionary around EV charging. So next few slides are just some of the photos of it, the still photos. That's the entrance to the structure. It will be off of 3rd Street as you'll enter in. The floor plan, I know it's hard to see, but basically everything left of the blue line there is library space, large children's area, large teen center, quiet areas. 2 entrances is what you're seeing. And then on the right side is the Flex Space Community Center. So the rooms there can be divided. We can seat easily up to 200 people with 300 in an overflow. And then we've got the commercial kitchen that can be used by small business, business development, food trucks, catering for events, things like that. So that just lists a few things. We want to catalyze private development by providing the public parking space. We've got the 2nd floor outdoor that people can come up and just have a cup of coffee if they want. Photograph of what the interior of the parking structure will be like. We're not designing miniature parking spaces. A big thing was, can we do Costco-sized parking spaces? Because those are comfortable, right? So we're designing it that it's easy for people to bring their children to the library, and so we're not cramming y'all in there. That's important. A shot of the Commons area community center space. So why are we focusing on sort of in the downtown area at this point? And I will say that this is really following a master plan that had a significant amount of community involvement. This is what we want for our community back in the 2000s. There were 3 very distinct elements of this master plan. One is flood protection. We were able to accomplish that in 2019. And that we were quite the national stars over the last flood season, which helped us actually gain attention for the Library Commons project. The next one was parking, and the idea that the government would invest in parking infrastructure. The reason why is so that private investors would not have that burden. And that's a way that you have government invest to catalyze private investment in a meaningful way. So we needed structured parking. And in 2017, when we were merging this idea of needing a new library, and what about a community space, and what about parking, the idea to merge it all into one project kind of really took hold. And to me, that is the ultimate in efficiency of government. We're not gonna build separate structures and do all that. We're gonna combine as much as we can and provide as much benefit in one project to the community. So that's that second part of the downtown master plan. But then the third is the eventual development of hotel, residential, multifamily businesses along the waterfront. So we have to continue that vision. Whoever's in my office, whoever's in the city council, there's no reason to throw out really good planning and just continue what we need to know for our community. So we believe that rising tide floats all boats. And so as we work toward waterfront development now, here are some examples from nearby that have had smaller scale hotel developments, mixed use, that I think are awesome. The top left, anyone know what this is?
Linden.
Thank you, the Inn at Linden. It was developed in the small town of Linden in partnership with a private developer. It is on a 17,000 square foot pad, which is not very big, 36 boutique hotel rooms above Avenue Bread and a brewery, and like it's amazing development, small scale, privately owned. The picture on the right, who knows what that one is? Chrysalis, yes, Chrysalis in Bellingham. Same type of scale and idea of what we would love to see on the waterfront. And then the bottom left, who knows what that one is? Yeah, but Majestic Hotel in Anacortes, and that's their rooftop bar and gathering space. And I mean, I want one of those looking over the river. I don't know about you. But you can see how we've got examples of development done right in our downtown, but bringing in the economic development that sort of lifts all boats. So we're super excited. We need your help though. So after I'm done, I'm going to ask for some audience participation. We have applied for several federal grants, and what we have found is you have to get attention when you're competing with hundreds of other agencies for funding. And our brilliant library director, Isaac, has figured out a way to do a Twitter campaign. And so at the end, I'm hoping you'll help participate. We're going to take a selfie, and we're going to post it to Secretary Buttigieg, our congressional delegation, anyone who has a say in deciding $10 million that would come to our city for this project. So hopefully you're wanting to help us out at the end of this. All right. So touching on the idea of housing, but I'd like to talk about it in the context of comprehensive planning. And so as a leader, I think it's incredibly important that in a crisis, leaders have to think more broadly than just the crisis. Because when you're making decisions in a crisis mode, there are unintended consequences, and you gotta slow down and ensure that whatever you're deciding is not harmful in the end. The state has a comprehensive planning law, it's called the GMA, that I think is brilliant. And I think our community should understand that when the council's making decisions on codes around certain topics, they have to consider the entire effects. So the left-hand bubble that you maybe can't see well says utilities. When we are expanding our population, do we have enough utility capacity, water? Think of California right now and their water issue. Water, maybe it's electricity, maybe it's Cascade natural gas, that kind of thing. Do we have enough capacity to grow responsibly? The next thing is transportation. Do we have enough transportation capacity to add 6,000 housing units? 6,000 housing units could say 1 car per housing unit, that's 6,000 vehicles on one particular road. We have to analyze that and see what we need to do to the road, or maybe it doesn't fit in those particular locations. Those are important. And the land use is, do we have enough lands for homes and jobs? There was an article in the Herald today that quoted a man who said that the cities have failed to plan for capacity for housing. That is a lie. I mean, I'm flat out, that's a lie, I'm sorry. It's a lie. And let me tell you why. Because we are required to do comprehensive planning that's adopted every 8 years, that's reviewed by the state of Washington, demonstrating we have enough land to accommodate housing units. So I know that's harsh, but I just can't let that stand anymore. All right, the housing element. Do we have a range of housing options? The city of Mount Vernon has a significant portion of their housing that's single-family residential. We need more multifamily. Absolutely. Have we been able to plan for that and enact codes to try and stimulate that? The city does not build housing, but we want to make sure that we've got everything in place to at least incentivize housing types that we need. That's important. Then economic development, do we have a plan for that? I think that's our master plan in our downtown really illustrates that, but we could do more. And then do we have parks? Do we have enough space? Part of our comprehensive plan is a school plan. Do we have enough schools to accommodate growth? So we don't take any of these elements for granted, and it's super important that we balance all of that as policymakers make their decisions. And here's why. This is a map of our commercial and residential divide. The red is residentially zoned property in the city limits. The blue is commercial zone property in the city limits. And the orange-ish color is either publicly zoned, so it's either parkland or owned by schools or the county or the city, okay? Do you see a bit of a problem? Because I do, and I see that if we need jobs, where do the jobs need to go? The jobs need to have some commercial space zoned to have jobs. Now, do we want people working from home now? Yes, we do. And we want great internet so people can do that. But this is how Mount Vernon has grown over the decades. This is the exact opposite in Burlington. So when we see Burlington adding over 3,000 multifamily units, that is great, because now they're catching up on their balance of housing, as well as Cedar Woolley and Anacortes. Not that Mount Vernon doesn't have places to go on this, but we've also had this effect over the last 50 years. So it's really important to understand that. When we talk about multifamily housing, this is another map of the city limits. All the orange is where multifamily can be built by code today. So there are options. They're not easy options. And the reason why they're not easy options is largely because the city has 22 streams that run through the property. 22. 22 streams means a lot of the ecological types of codes that prevent building on those types of properties. The city of Burlington has 2. So there's a difference, there's a big difference. But here's what the council has done. They have enacted many different codes, including density bonuses, sub-area plans that allow mixed use, and even the financial pro formas for developers to show how it can be done. We have an accessory dwelling unit code. We have duplexes and triplexes allowed outright in all of those areas that you see in orange. We're conducting an economic study to see how we add multifamily to our college in Riverside, but we're not waiting for this study. We're improving our transportation, knowing that that could be coming. And right now we've got about 336 units in the planning pipeline. And once we get our Library Commons project done, we could realize hundreds of units in the downtown area around multifamily. So there has been a lot done on that. I showed this slide last year. I've got just a couple more here. Permanent supported housing. This is multifamily, however, it is for chronically homeless individuals. It is being built currently on College Way by Hawthorne Funeral Home. There's 70 units that are for chronically homeless individuals. They will have 24-hour support services in this structure so that they are successful in maintaining housing. This counts towards units. This is 70 units. And it's a huge lift we've been working on since 2017 to make it a reality around our helping and assisting our homeless population. So we're really proud of that effort. Skagit County is the lead with Catholic Housing Services on that. And then the city paved the way in 2016 by passing specific code allowing for this type of structure to be zoned. So a good partnership there and relief coming for sure. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was not only do we have our basic city services, things that I've talked with you about today, the Library Commons has 17 funding streams in it right now just to make it go, including 2 federal streams, which requires 2 federal permitting processes. There are huge things happening, but we have other things that are going on that we're trying to be representative of. State legislation is one thing. Mental health care, we believe, has failed in our state. So when I mentioned the integrated outreach services in police, that is a result of the city recognizing that we need to, no one's coming and it's up to us right now. And so we have a social worker in police that's been working with our homeless population since 2017. And as of this year, thanks to the sales tax increase and the council dedicating funding, we are expanding that service to have our own nurse practitioner, our own substance abuse counselor, and 2 of our own case managers. We're also gonna have a contract directly with a mental health specialist so that when we have someone on the street in crisis who is saying, I am willing to get help right now, we don't call a provider and they say, you can come in 2 weeks from Tuesday. Doesn't work. We want our own fast track person. So that's what we're setting up under the direction of Chief Kamek and our amazing police department, is we're going to be hiring those folks. But that isn't good enough, honestly. Above us has to do better. And so we're willing to be the jurisdiction that says, this is how we think it should work. It should be done better. And we're willing to put the time in on advocacy on our state level. And I hope that you're willing to support us in that effort. Police reform adjustments. There was needed police reform that occurred during the last few years, but honestly, some of it went way too far and is making our community less safe. One of the examples is the lack of the ability of the police to pursue. So we have had 3 essential kidnappings of children when someone had left a child in a car and ran into the store or did something, and that car was stolen with the child in it, and we are not allowed to pursue. That's not okay. And so we have been very active with our state legislators in trying to get some of these corrected. Do not take this as saying that I don't believe that we need very good policies around policing. And I'm happy to tell you all the reforms that we're going through the state. Mount Vernon Police already did that. We already had best practices, and we believe very strongly in that. But some things just went way too not practical that we need to be on top of. We want to manage expectations of the public, just like you and your businesses. If you're having a hard time hiring people, we're trying to hire people too. We've got delays in services because of those things. We're trying to do our very best, but we also have to manage expectations of the public as well. And I had mentioned insist on collaboration and cooperation. I am so proud to be a leader in Skagit County right now, and here's why. Over the last 10 years, we have had a reformation in leadership, leaders that want to collaborate, leaders that understand different lanes that people should be in but know how to support each other. And it wasn't like that in the beginning. And I'm super happy to say that today. And those leaders that work, I think monthly we meet, but we know we can call each other at the drop of a hat, our school district. So Dr. Vivanco, I want to thank you for that. Our Skagit County, so Commissioner Peter Browning has been amazing to work with. The chamber is part of that. Brian Ivey with the hospital is part of that. Tom from the college, we're hoping our new college president is going to be as collaborative, and I know he will be. Our downtown association, Ellen, I don't know if Ellen is here, but oh my goodness, unbelievable collaboration with Ellen and EDASC as well. So I want you to know that despite what you see in the news, number one, don't listen to half of the stuff on the federal level. It doesn't really affect you, like honestly, every day here in the city services. But it works here. We're working together. You can talk to any of us. I think that's an important thing. So you don't have to assume. You can just give a call, send an email. We'll be responsive to the questions that you have that are going on in the community. Thank you for the support over the last few years. Hopefully we can continue to work together, and hopefully you will all be invited to our groundbreaking in September. We will hopefully have all this done without an increase in tax dollars, and with all of your support, because our Twitter campaign is gonna tear it up. We're gonna go to viral. So thank you so much.